We continue now at the top of Daf Chofam and Beis and Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 20b. On the previous summit, the Gemara said that there was a get that was found by the Bezdin of Rav Huna, and it said in the get that the location was Shvirei, and Rav Huna said Chayshinan l'shnei Shvirei. We have to be concerned that there are two cities named Shvirei. Rashi here explains Chayshinan l'shnei Shvirei. We have to be concerned there are two cities named Shvirei. Afal b'she b'Shvirei hayadu alanu. Even though the Shvirei that we know, Ein ba shnei Yosef ben Shimon, there are not two people named Yosef ben Shimon. This can only belong to one person because there's only one Yosef ben Shimon in Shvirei. But Rav Huna said still we can't return it to Yosef ben Shimon. Shema yesh Shvirei acheres, because maybe there's another city named Shvirei. Sheyesh sham Yosef ben Shimon, where there's also a person named Yosef ben Shimon there. V'sham nichtav, maybe it was written over there. Umishliach acher nafal, maybe this get fell from someone else. Maybe it didn't fall from you. That was Rav Huna's concern. And the Gemara continues, Amalei Rav Chisda l'Rabba. Rav Chisda said to Rabba, poke ayin, go look into this case. De la'orsa boy la Rav Huna minach, because tonight Rav Huna is going to ask you about it. He's going to want to know what is the halacha in this case. Nafak dok v'yashkach. So he went out and he searched and he found the following Mishnah as a support to Tanan that we learned in our Mishnah, Kol Ma'isa Bezdin Hareza Yachzer. Anytime you have a document of the court, you return that document. And Rashi explains, Hareza Yachzer, you return the document again if it's a Ma'isa Bezdin. Tekevin de lo huchzaku shnei Yosef ben Shimon bi'iracha. Since we don't have a chazaka that there are two people named Yosef ben Shimon in one city, l'ir acheres she'eni yadu alanu lo cheshin, and we're not concerned that there's another city that we don't know about. And the Gemara continues, Amarle Rav Amram l'Rabba. Rav Amram said to Rabba, Hechi Pashad Mari Surah Mimamona. How are you answering a question that has to do with Isser? Get Isha has to do with prohibitions, and you're answering that question from our Mishnah, which is talking about Ma'isa Bezin, which is cases of Mumminus. How can you answer from a case of Mumminus to a case of Isser? And the Gemara continues, Amar Le, Rabba said back to him, Tar the fool, Shtari Chalitza Umiyunin Tanan. It says in the Mishnah not only cases of Mumminus, it talks about documents of Chalitza and Miyun, that involves Isser, and so therefore we are able to bring proof from our Mishnah. And the Gemara continues, at that point, Paka Arza Devei Rav, one of the cedar beams of the study hall dislodged. Mar Amar Misham Lesoy Didi Paka, one said that it was because of me that it dislodged. Umar Amar Misham Lesoy Didi Paka, and the other one said that it was because of me that the cedar beam dislodged. And Rashi explains, Paka Arza Devei Rav, Nishvar Ha'amad Shebeis HaMedrash Nishan Olav, meaning one of the beams which was supporting the base Medrash, it broke. And Mar Amar Misham Lesoy Didi Paka, one of them said it was because of me, meaning B'shvil Mazoli Shekine Al Shegidaftani. It was because of me, since you insulted me, so therefore that's why the beam broke. The other one said, no, it was because of me, meaning that you tried to refute what I said, you tried to embarrass me in the base medrash, and that's why the beam broke. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Matzav b'chafisa b'deluskama, if he finds the shtaros in a chafisa or a deluskama, my chafisa, what is a chafisa? Amar Rava bar Barchana, Rava bar Barchana says, Chamos ketan, it's a small flask. My deluskama, what's a deluskama? Amar Rava bar Shmuel says, Talika desabi, it's a container that's used by the elders. Rashi says, Chamos shel or, shenosin bo yayin. A chamos is a flask made out of leather, which they put wine inside of it. Talika desabi is shaz zekena matzniim bo klei tashmishan. It's a container that the elders use to put their vessels, that they don't need to search for them. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Tachrich shel shtaros, or aguda shel shtaros v'chulu. It talked about a roll of shtaros, or a bundle of shtaros. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Kamahu tachrich shel shtaros, what's considered to be a roll of shtaros? Shlosha kruchin zebazets, if you have three rolled up together. V'kamahi aguda shel shtaros, what's considered a bundle of shtaros? Shlosha keshurin zebazet, that's if you have three of them that are tied to one another. And the Gemara says, Shamat mina kesher siman, so should we see from the Mishnah that a knot, that a tie is considered to be a siman, because apparently that's the only siman by the aguda, by the bundle of shtaros. Hatani Rabbi Chia, and so the Gemara says, no, Rabbi Chia taught, Shlosha kruchin zebazet, that actually in aguda, it means to say that you have three that are rolled within each other, and therefore it's the way they are rolled that is the siman, not necessarily the kesher, not necessarily the tie. The Gemara says, Yihachi, but if so, hainu tachrich, that's identical to tachrich. Tachrich is when you have the shtaros rolled together, and now you're saying that an aguda also is when the shtaros are rolled together. And so the Gemara explains, no, there is a difference between how they are rolled together. Tachrich kol chad v'chad berosha dechavre. When it comes to a tachrich, so then each one is rolled up at the top of its friend, meaning the bottom of one shtar is by the top of the next shtar. But aguda, when it comes to a bundle, duramu hadad yukruchos, they're placed one right on top of the other, and then they're rolled, so it's just a different way of rolling the shtaros. And the Gemara says, my machris. So the Gemara says, well, what is announced in terms of when you're announcing this and you need to get a siman? And the Gemara says, minyan, the number, mayir yitzla, shlasa filo train nami. Well, if the person is telling you the number of shtaros, so what does it have to be 3 shtaros for? Let it be 2 shtaros. And so the Gemara says, Ela kedamar Ravina, rather it's like Ravina said, tiva machers, you announce that it's coins. Hachanami, here also shtare machers, you announce that it's shtaros. You announce in plural that it refers to documents. And Rashi explains, Kruchen zeh bazeh, again, they're rolled one to the other, v'zehu siman, that would be the siman that they're rolled together. Sha'abaylim nosnim bahem zeh yachriz Metziah shtaros matzasi. In other words, the person announces, the person who found the shtaros says, I found shtaros. V'zeh yomer shalihem, and the other one says, they're my shtaros. U'shloshahem kruchenein zeh bazeh, and there are 3 of them, and they're rolled together. And so then the Gemara said that aguda, it's tied together. So shmami no kesher siman, do we see from this that the knot is a siman? Sheyesh ksharim sheinam domim zelazeh, you have knots that are different from one another. V'yomer kach v'kachu asi, the person can say it was tied in this fashion. Di'lotei machi, now if you're not going to say the kesher is a siman, my simona ikahacha, what's the siman over here? V'tifshat mina bi'alma the kesher siman, so we should understand from our Mishnah, in general, that a knot is a siman. Uboy bi'alma, it's just a general question whether a knot is considered as a siman. Umashani, and then the Gemara answers, mehacha lo tifsha, you can't answer anything from here. Tatani Rabbi Chia, because Rabbi Chia taught, gimel kruchen zeh bazeh, that when it comes to the bundle of shtaros, they're also rolled together. Hu aguda dekrach have a siman, and that is the siman, the fact that it's rolled, to kuli alma karchi shtar liatzma v'koshanos an yachad, v'zeh karach shlosh an yachad. And the reason why that's considered a siman is because usually you roll each shtar independently and tie them together, but here he rolled all 3 of them together, and that itself is going to serve as the siman. And then the Gemara described that the way it's rolled together is different. When it's a tachrich, so the bottom of one shtar is by the top of the other shtar. However, when it's a bundle, so duramo hadadi hishkivan zeh al zeh, what you do is you lie them one right on top of the other, orcho al orcho shel chaver, the length of one on the length of the other. And then finally the Gemara said, my machers, well, what exactly is announced in this case? Meaning hamotzi my machers, meaning the person who finds these shtaros rolled together, what exactly does he announce? And so the Gemara said minyan. At first the Gemara said it's going to be the number, meaning gimel shtaros v'zeh bav v'nosein simin shekruchen hayu yachad, meaning he's going to announce the number of documents that he found. I found 3 shtaros, and then this person comes along and he gives a siman that they're rolled together. And the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, afilu treinami. If that's the case, why do we have to talk about 3 shtaros? Let it talk about 2 shtaros. And he says, he announces that he found 2 shtaros, and you give a siman, they're all together. And if all that the owners need to do is say a siman that it's rolled together, so what do you need to talk about 3 shtaros for? You can just talk about 2 shtaros. And so then the Gemara said, just like Ravina said, when it comes to coins, you announce the fact that you found a coin, and over here also you announce the fact that you found shtaros. As Rashi says, Kedamar Ravina Bava Metzia shtare machriz, he announces, I found shtaros matzasi, I found shtaros in plural. V'zeh tzarich sheyomer kach v'kach hayu, ukruchen hayu, and the person needs to respond, it was this many of them, and they were rolled together. And hilkach, therefore, dafka tzlasa, that's why it has to be 3 shtaros. Avol trei, but if it's, let's say, only 2 shtaros, made the yediyah demiyut shtaros time, everybody knows the minimum amount of shtaros is 2, ve'ein minyan siman, and then the number would not be considered a good siman, that's why it has to be 3. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots. The Mishnah said, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, Echad halova mishlosh, if one person is borrowing from 3 different creditors, yachzer lelova v'chulu, so then the documents are returned to the lova. It's clear that it was lost by the borrower. And the Gemara says, Disal kadaitach de malvin, because if it would enter your mind that it belongs to the lenders, my bo, gabi hadadi, how did all these shtaros wind up together if it's 3 different lenders? The Gemara says, well, it's possible, dilma lekum minu azli, maybe they all went to the same court in order to certify these documents. And the Gemara says to that, no, the Mekaimi, it's already been certified. But the Gemara says, Dilma miyada de safar nafel, but maybe it fell from the scribe after it was certified, so they were all together. And the Gemara says to that, Lo mashinish kiyume biyada de safar, a person doesn't leave his document that's certified in the hands of the scribe, and so therefore, again, it's likely that it fell from the lova, and it's returned to the lova. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots. The Mishnah said, Shlosha shalavo me'echad, if 3 people borrow from one person, yachzer lamalva v'chulu, so then you return it to the lender. Again, it's likely it fell from the lender. And the Gemara says, Disal kadaitach the lovin, if you think it's the borrowers, my bo gabi hadadi, how did they all get together? It's 3 different borrowers. And the Gemara says, well, dilma lemichtavinu azli, maybe they all went to the same scribe to have it written, and so therefore maybe it really does belong to the borrowers and not to the lender. And the Gemara says to that, Techsivi betlos yedei safri, that it's written with the handwriting of 3 different scribes, they went to different sofrim, so therefore again, it's likely that it fell from the lender. And the Gemara says, V'dilma lekuminu azli, but maybe all the borrowers went to court in order to certify the shtaros, and to that the Gemara says, Malva mekayim shtare, lo velo mekayim shtare, a lender is the one that certifies the shtar, a borrower does not certify his shtar. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Im yeshi moin symphonos, if a person finds among his documents symphonos, which are cancellations of a debt or receipts on a debt, yasa masha b'symphonos, he should do what's in the symphonos, and he should assume that the debt has already been paid. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba says that Rav says, Simphon hayotze mitachas yidei malve, if you have a symphon in the possession of the creditor, of the lender, afal pi shekasa b'chsav yado, even if it's written in his own handwriting, einu ela kemesachek upasal, it's just like he's joking, it's considered disqualified, we don't follow what is in the symphon. And the Gemara says, Lo mi boy kasa b'chsav yad sofer. Now we don't even need to say in a situation where it's written in the handwriting of the scribe, to equal a member, because then you could say, Safra isra milei v'chasav, that he found the sofer and he wrote it, but it wasn't yet paid off. He just wanted to have it available for the time when the lova would actually pay it off. But even if it's written in his own handwriting, it's disqualified sover, because the person thinks maybe this person, the lova, is going to come bein hashmashos right when Shabbos is coming, and he'll pay me back right by Shabbos. And if I don't give him a symphon, if I don't give him a receipt, he's not going to give me the money. So so I'm going to write it myself so that when he brings me the money, that I'll be able to give him this document. So the point is, according to Rav, if the creditor finds a symphon among his documents, he does not have to assume that that means the debt has been paid off. It could be among his documents because he wanted to have it ready. And so the Gemara now asks on Rav from our Mishnah. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Im yeshi moin symphonos, if together, again, among his documents, he has symphonos, he has a masha b'symphonos, he has to do what is in the symphonos. And so here it seems to be that the creditor does have to take it seriously and assume that the debt has been paid. And the Gemara says, Kedam Rav Safra, the answer to this question is like Rav Safra said in a different context, Shenimsa ben shtaros karuin, that this particular symphon was found among torn documents, and that already indicates that you should follow the symphon. Hachanami here also, Shematzu ben shtaros karuin, he found it, again, among his documents that were torn up. And Rashi explains, he's going to give two explanations what it means that he found it among his torn documents. The first explanation is, Shenimsa lo hashtar sha'ashover yotze olav. He found not the shover, but the document the shover is referring to, bein shtaros of krum. He found that document among torn documents. V'hu eino karu. Now that particular document is not torn up. Lefikach somchen al hashover, but therefore we rely on the shover on this receipt. Shemokom hashtar mochiach al hashover shu emes. The fact that this document, even though it's not torn up, but the fact that it's among the torn documents, that already indicates that the shover is accurate and this has been paid off. Shimlo nifra, because if it wasn't paid off, lo hayanosin ashtar etzel ashtaris krun, he wouldn't put this shtar by all of his torn documents. Kach shamati. Rashi says that's the explanation that I heard. The point is, again, this indicates that the shover is correct. Velini, or Rashi says his own pshat, it appears to me, shenimtza hashover bein hashtaris krun, that the shover is found among the torn documents. Hilka chikol amemer sheneskabel hachov. So therefore you can say the debt was probably paid off. Hashover hazeh ein sarach lemalvin. The point is, the lender doesn't really need the shover. It's the lova that usually needs the shover to prove that he paid off the debt. So since the malva didn't need it anymore, he doesn't need la malva hazeh. He doesn't need it ela la lova. It's the borrower that needs it. V'halova shachach biyad zen. The lova forgot it. He left it with the lender. Lafikach nasnu zeh mashtaro. So therefore, the lender just put it among the other documents shein tzrichen lo, that he doesn't really need. Again, the point is, it's an indication that this was paid off. Because if you think that the malva wrote it so it's ready to give to the lova when he pays it off, lo nasnu im shtara shein tzrichen lo, he's not going to put it among the documents that he doesn't need. So that indicates again that this debt has been paid off. Whatever exactly the explanation is, the point is that the location of the symphon, or the location of the document the symphon is referring to, can indicate to us that this debt was in fact paid off, and it's only in those situations that you follow the symphon. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear a proof from the following Mishnah. Nimtza le'echad bein shtaros of shtarosh al Yosef ben Shimon parua. Let's say a person finds among his documents that it says that the shtar of Yosef ben Shimon has been paid off. So shtarosh shneim paruin. So the halach is, let's say there are two people, or Yosef ben Shimon, we don't know which one paid off his debt. We assume that both of them have been paid off. And the point of the question over here on Rav is, again, you see that we take the symphon seriously and we assume the debt has been paid. And Rav said we don't assume the debt has been paid. And the Gemara gives the same answer it gave above. Kedamar Rav Safra, it's like Rav Safra said, Shenimsa ben shtaros kruna, was found among the torn documents. That indicates, again, that it was paid off. Hachanami here also, Shenimsa ben shtaros kruna, was found among the torn documents. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear a proof from another Mishnah, Shavua shelo pakadnu abba. Let's say you have Yorshim, you have heirs, and they take an oath that father did not instruct us anything with regard to this debt, we're allowed to collect this debt. V'shelo amar lanu abba, or father didn't tell us anything about it, again, we're allowed to collect the debt. They're trying to collect a debt from the heirs of the debtor. V'shalom matzanu ben shtarosav shel abba sheshtar ze paru. And also they say that we didn't find among the documents of father that this particular debt was paid. So again, it seems to be that if they would find a simphon, if they would find a document saying that the debt has been paid, then you have to take that seriously. Again, that's a question on Rav, and the Gemara again gives the same answer. Amar Rav Safar says, Shenimtza ben shtaros kruin, that it's found among the torn shtaros, that indicates, or that would indicate, that it had been paid off. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here a proof from the following Brisa, Simphon sheyesh olav edim yiskayim bechosmav. If you have a simphon and there are witnesses, it should be certified. And again, that sounds like we take the simphon seriously and we assume the debt was paid. And the Gemara says, no, emo yiskayim mechosmav. What it really means to say is that we certify it from those who signed it. Essentially, we ask them whether it's been paid off, as the Gemara will say. And Rashi explains, Shvua shelo pakad no'aba. Again, they take an oath that father did not give us any instructions. Mishnahi b'shvuas. This is a Mishnah Meseches Shvuas. Yisomen min ha-yisomen. Let's say orphans are trying to collect the debt from other orphans. Lo yifru ela b'shvuah. The halach is they can only collect with an oath. Umau shvuas. And what oath do they take? Shvua shelo pakad no'aba. They take an oath that father didn't instruct us. B'tzavo asmisa, meaning in a will. V'shelo amar lanu kodem lachein. He didn't say anything before. V'shelo matzinu shover ben shtarosav. We didn't find a receipt among his documents. Shalab, of the documents of father. Al shtar zeh shi'eh paru, on this document that it was paid. In other words, they take all of these oaths essentially saying that father never told us it was paid off. We never found a document that said it was paid off. And that sounds like hoimatzu samchinan alet. Sounds like if they would find a document, if they would find the shover, they would rely on the shover and they would assume it was paid off. And again, that was a question on Rav. And then they asked a question on Rav from a Brisa where it said Yiskayim b'chosmav, you certify the simphon. And Rashi says Kasal Kadaitach. Right now we think Im Amar Mal velo nefrati. The case over here is the lender says I was never paid off, even though he has the simphon. But he says V'teda, you should know Sharei lo masarti liyotcha. I never gave it to you. I would have given it to the lova. I would have given it to the borrower had it been paid off. So clearly it wasn't paid off. So the halach is Yiskayim b'chosmav. The halach is you certify it al pi chosmav Yiskayim, meaning the signatures. You certify the signatures. Imachosmin meidin shechasmu. Once those who signed it certify that that's their signature, ein hamal v'neman. Then the lender is not believed, and we follow the simphon. Avol kol kama de lo mekayim. But if they don't certify it, mehemin. So then already the lender would be believed. Deman mapik le malva, because who's the one who's showing this simphon? It's the lender. Umalva ha'amar pasalu, and the malva is saying that it's disqualified. In any case, again, the question is, it seems from this brisa that we do follow the simphon. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph.